What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We're coming up on the 60,000 giveaway here soon with the 6,000 sub giveaway with the Metroid Samus Returns 3DS. So I would sign up in the description down below so you have a chance before we hit that mark. And then I already have something figured out for the next giveaway between 60 and 70,000, which I'm pretty excited for. But there's a lot of stuff to talk about today. And yes, we finally have to talk about loot boxes. So let's get started. Now, I probably will make an entire video away from here just about loot boxes in general because it is a pretty big topic overall. But there is something that has really been rubbing gamers the wrong way, and that is, of course, Star Wars Battlefront II. And if you don't know, guess what? It has loot boxes like seemingly every other AAA game coming out this holiday. Yes, pretty much every Assassin's Creed has it, although apparently that's in-game currency only. That could change. We see Forza have it. Basically, most of the games coming out now, including even Shadow of War that's out today, it has loot boxes. Everything does. And Star Wars Battlefront 2 seems to be trying to really test the limits here because they've pretty much been called out by gamers as well as gaming websites such as Eurogamer to be completely pay to win. So Eurogamer did a really good write-up, very good summary of what's going on here and why, well, the entire game appears to be leveraged towards people who are willing to spend quite a bit of money on top of the $60 you pay just to get into the game, obviously, when you buy it. Basically, you're going to have loot crates, and that's how you level up. That's how you get anything. Abilities, weapons, star card abilities is what they call them for Battlefront. And oh man, this is something, because you earn in-game currency that you can use to buy these loot crates. However, the issue is you earn the same amount, pretty much a flat rate every time you play, whether you win or lose, not even based on performance apparently. So there is a set amount, and I've even heard as much as 5 to 6 games need to be played before you can open one loot crate. And here's where things get interesting. Not only do you get abilities and weapons, you get stuff for each class, whether you have your basically on-the-ground soldiers, or of course you have your special character you can turn into, or your vehicles, like your crafts and everything, that you fly the TIE fighters and X-Wings and everything. But, of course, you need to have different versions of each card. That's right, there are different rankings like bronze, silver, gold. And it gets really crazy when you actually look at the difference between the bronze and the gold card in terms of how much more powerful they make you. So Eurogamer put out an example that was pretty good. There is a damage reduction card, for example, that you can get. The bronze is 50%, and then its highest tier is 100%. And that's a card that is activated while you're playing. And I don't know about you, but 50% to 100% is a big difference. Apparently, the gold are just more rare. So you have to pull more loot crates. How do you get more loot crates? You can either grind away forever, I guess is what it seems like, right? Or you can really take advantage, I guess, of the daily loot crates. They really drip feed to you. They don't give you a lot. Or you can open up your wallet and spend more money on really, at this point, real world money that is used to then turn into currency, which then of course can then turn into loot crates that give you advantages in game. That's a problem. This is a multiplayer game. This is a game you're going to be playing in competition with other people, and people who just spend more money on the game appear to have an advantage over you if you don't want to spend more money in the game. So it seems like a very unfair experience right now. And it seems weird because the first Battlefront, from what I remember, sold a pretty good amount of copies considering the content that was not there. It wasn't a very fleshed out game. There was a lot missing. They added it in DLC and everything. But I mean, they sold 14 million copies of the original game according to a lot of sales trackers. And that seems like a lot to sell to then turn around and be like, well, we need more money, so let's get loot crates involved, and let's not make them just costumes. That's the thing. I have less of a problem with ones that are cosmetics. I have much more of a problem with ones that give people unfair advantage for paying out extra. Again, you can earn these, but man, it seems like they have this grind going on to where you feel like you need to spend money to keep up with the people who are spending money. It's one thing if you're really good at the game and you're getting, headshots left and right, and you're having this massive score in game, and then they really reward you accordingly. So you get more currency for doing really well. Does not appear to be the case. Just flat rate across the board. You could literally go 1 and 15 at the bottom and get the same amount as the person at the top who went 15 and 1. Super weird situation here. I hope, and I'm not counting on it, but I hope they decide to fix this, patch it in some way so that it makes more sense. It seems like they want you to spend more money outside of $60. Listen, you can get away with making this game free, or you could just sell it and not have these transactions in game that make it unfair. It's a weird situation right now. I'll get more into it in the video that I will probably do that will be all about these weird loot crate games that are coming out now, but just know, do some research on Battlefront, because honestly, there's so many people who are like, I'm just gonna wait for it to go on sale because I don't want to spend $60 and then feel like I have to spend more money to keep up with the other people in game. Very, very off-putting decision here by EA. Next up, let's talk about the UK sales charts. We like to talk about these when there are weeks that things are really important in there. And this week, we had Forza Motorsport 7 that released. And it's very interesting to see when this releases because it is kind of popular over in the UK. And the sales charts kind of reflect that. FIFA is still number one. I kind of expect that. FIFA is a big deal there. Fine. There's a lot of people who probably didn't buy it the first week that then bought it the second week, offsetting paychecks. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there when people can't buy it the first week. But the interesting thing here is Forza Motorsport 7 is actually down 22% from Motorsport 6. These are all physical sales, though. Keep that in mind as well. And 60% down from Forza Horizon 3. So what does this tell us? Well, it definitely tells us that Horizon is better, or at least in their minds, better than just the regular Forza series. I do think the Forza Horizon series is more arcadey, so it appeals to more people, whereas just the regular Forza games are heavy simulation, more for the hardcore racing fans. In fact, if you look at the charts, number 3 was Horizon 3. Of course, it had some pretty cool DLC with the Hot Wheels tracks. I thought that was really fun because it doesn't try to take itself too seriously. I don't like racing games, but that was actually a really fun game to play. I actually had a lot of fun with that. I think one of my favorite games that was a racing game that was borderline simulation, but definitely more arcadey, was Midnight Club LA. That was a great time. And then, of course, Need for Speed Underground 2 is awesome. But Horizon 3 was pretty close to that, and I felt like I just had fun with it. I didn't feel like I had to do all kinds of crazy stuff with, tuning and even hiring drivers, which was odd back in the day. But now, of course, we have loot boxes. Guess what? Those are in Forza as well, and you will have to spend real money on that. So technically they took stuff out of 6 to then have you win it or earn it, I guess, with loot boxes. Are loot boxes the real reason this is having a hard time compared to 6? Probably not. I think just Horizon 3 pulled sales from Forza 7. I think that's really the big reason. If Horizon 3 wasn't there, I think Forza 7 would have done better just because it was the only one there. But they like to do this offsetting yearly release thing with Forza, so either way they're making money. They sold Horizon 3, they sold 7, 2 and 3 spots, so Microsoft and Turn 10 still got money essentially, or at least Microsoft did. They at least got money for it. Next up, let's briefly talk about Sonic Forces. There was an interview that took place between the Sonic team developers and DualShockers, and in this interview they confirmed a few details about the Switch version. One, they didn't have a ton of time to develop for it. They pretty much put out an open challenge essentially to their team. They took it up and they decided to get this thing on the Switch day one alongside the other systems. So that's great. But they did have to make some sacrifices to get this thing out the door on time. They even said they didn't have as much time as they would have liked to work with it. Maybe they'll patch it in the future. I'm not sure. Either way, resolution is going to be 720p across the board. That includes handheld and docked mode. We're going to see handheld mode that may work with a dynamic resolution maybe. Maybe it says 720p at the height, but then it can drop down. We've seen even 540p or something. Who knows? But as far as we know right now, 720p in both docked and handheld mode. 30 frames per second. But what was interesting is they said that the inputs will work at 60 frames per second, which is odd. It really means that the inputs will still really register between frames, and this is a very interesting idea. I kind of want to get Sonic Forces just to see what this will feel like, because you could set 30 frames on your PC if you want to do it intentionally, like I did with Doom, but this is something kind of new to me. 60 frames per second inputs, but 30 frames per second gameplay. I'm not sure how this is going to feel or look, but now I'm really intrigued here. Now, according to them, it will be the same game pretty much across the board for the Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. I'm sure there'll be some minor detail that comes out right when it releases where people point out something in the game. But overall, according to them, same game across the board for the most part. And that's great. I'm a little curious why they couldn't get the resolution at least up to 900p docked, unless the 720p handheld is more the roof and there will be dynamic scaling. But it's interesting that the resolution is 720p across the board. However, I am very curious about the 60 frames per second feel with a 30 frames per second output. Now I want to get Sonic Forces just to see that. It's going to be $40, which is nice. It'll be on sale physically and digitally for both the PS4 and the Switch in Japan. Only digital on the Xbox One, because why would you make a physical copy of that in Japan when there's 80,000 possible Xbox Ones to sell to? Of course, physical and digital here in the States and the rest of the world. So look forward to that. That's out in November. And in our last bit of news, it looks like Mario Odyssey will have all outfits that you would get with the Amiibos unlockable in-game. It was added to their website, just reassuring fans essentially, hey, you can still unlock these without the Amiibos, really the disguised DLC, I guess you'd want to say. But it's good to see that that's the case in a world with loot boxes and really seemingly try to just squeeze as much money as possible out of consumers. I'm glad Nintendo made this choice. Honestly though, I don't know how much these costumes are worth to people to go out and buy an Amiibo just for that. It seems like the Amiibo is a cool thing to collect. It's neat to just touch to the Joy-Con and get the outfit. But yes, you can earn them in-game as well. Well done, Nintendo. Thank you for not making the Amiibo absolutely required. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me think about any of the stuff we talked about today, like, the loot boxes, so that everyone is so happy about. It's going to be an awesome holiday with loot boxes just everywhere. It's going to be a great time. Let me know what you think about that, though. I'm sure some of you guys have some very strong opinions on that thought. But really, I am curious what you guys think about that. Also, let me know what you guys make of this Sonic Forces situation with the 60 frames per second feel, but the 30 frames per second output. I'm not really sure what to make of that, but I guess we'll find out when it comes out. Let me know if you guys have ever heard of anything like that, and maybe we can check it out or something, but it's very odd to see. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you next time.